A financial reset is only months away. Christine Lagarde, the head of the European Central Bank, announced that there is a new push to accelerate the transition to central bank digital currencies, a digital euro. She's working closely with European Council, she said, and European Commission to put in place the infrastructure that is needed to implement the CBDC. Lagarde indicated that the deadline is October of 2025. That's right, you heard it right. The deadline for a digital euro rollout is October of 2025. In fact, it is only several months away. The head of the EU Central Bank urged EU Parliament to finalize the legislative process, without which, she says, it will be impossible to roll out the digital euro. Now, this does pertain to wholesale CBDCs and retail CBDCs. If you're not too familiar with the difference between the two, a wholesale CBDC is used by large institutions, by large banks, by commercial enterprises to settle multi-million-dollar transactions for foreign direct investment transfers, and so on and so forth. So think large-scale financial transactions. While retail CBDCs are for consumers to make everyday purchases, to save and to invest. So here is Christine Lagarde making this important announcement. Take a look.
On your second point, I tend to share your views. Nature doesn't like vacuum. And we started working on the digital euro way back. Actually, when I started my term 5.5 years ago. And I'm not claiming, parentality on the digital euro, because my colleague Benoît Cœuré had already committed a speech on this matter before I arrived. But I certainly carried on with that project, and subsequently Fabio Panetta on the board, and then Piero Cipollone, who has replaced Fabio, have taken the lead together with a very, very good team which is focused on accelerating the pace and hopefully campaigning enough with all the stakeholders, meaning European Parliament, meaning European Council, meaning European Commission, so that we can eventually, not put to bed, but put to reality this digital euro. The deadline for us is going to be October of 25, and we are getting ready for that deadline. But we will not be able to move unless the other parties, the stakeholders, as I call them, Commission, Council, and Parliament, actually complete the legislative process, without which we will not be able to move. And I think it is critically important, and it seems to the agnostic or the skeptics, it seems to be more relevant and more of an imperative now than ever before, both on the wholesale and on the retail level, both.
Europe is on track to have the digital euro rolled out in just a matter of months. This means that pilot programs have been completed, presumably, and effectively they're just finalizing the legislature, as Lagarde stated in her video, for the EU to adopt its very first, the first ever, fully controlled central bank digital currency. Global central banks work closely with the Bank for International Settlements. The BIS is frequently referred to as the central bank of central banks. Its managing director, in a now notorious video, clearly indicated that once a CBDC is rolled out, the issuing entity, which is de facto a government of a state via its central bank, will have full control of how that currency is used. This is because banks have to comply with government regulations and with the laws. So the managing director of the BIS is named Augustin Carstens. You will see the video in a second. And effectively in this video, he is explaining that CBDCs are intended for control. That is the purpose, not stopping crimes as some may claim. Here's the clip. Take a look.
All our analysis on CBDC, in particular for the use of general use, we tend to establish the equivalence with cash. And there is a huge difference there. For example, in cash, we don't know, for example, who's using a $100 bill today. We don't know who is using a 1,000 peso bill today. A key difference with the CBDC is that central bank will have absolute control on the rules and regulations that will determine the use of that expression of central bank liability. And also, we will have the technology to enforce that. Those two issues are extremely important, and that makes a huge difference with respect to what cash is.
It goes without saying that CBDCs are a great risk to our personal freedoms because the CBDC is owed not by you, but by the issuing entity, a central bank, which means effectively the government. Its functionality depends on the features that are turned on, which are, of course, determined by the government. So there may be an option to block payments of an individual who might be, let's say, blacklisted, who doesn't comply, who doesn't comply with the laws and requirements. So, for example, if a person goes on protests against what he or she believes is a violation of human rights, such as, let's say, maybe he does so on a university campus, that person may be banned from being able to purchase groceries or gasoline, for example, or to be able to travel. Another feature of a CBDC that you may want to be aware of is real-time transaction tracking. Unlike a traditional currency banknote, a digital euro retains full information of its previous owners and also the transactions that they've conducted. So while it may be able to simplify efficiency, it makes things efficient, transactions are settled in real time, sure. However, I think it does infringe upon our personal freedoms in a way unseen before. The third feature worth reminding you of is an expiry date. CBDCs, or a digital euro in this particular case, may have an expiration date. So you may not be allowed to save it. You can either spend it or lose it. Needless to say, other restrictions might be put in place as well, such as limits on withdrawals, on what may or may not be purchased with that particular CBDC, and even your taxes. Those may be withdrawn by the IRS automatically, for example. So there's no sane person who would choose to use a CBDC voluntarily, in my personal opinion. Let me know what you think, instead of regular cash or regular transaction methods, because there is absolutely no need for the government or a central bank or even your financial institution to have absolutely unlimited control over your personal finances. Well, now it appears that Christine Lagarde is telling us that in October, a reset is indeed coming. Are you ready to adopt a CBDC? If you're in the EU, let us know how you feel about this news. And of course, what are your thoughts and plans if you are in the EU? Let us know in the comments below. We would love to hear from you. Make sure that you are subscribed to worldaffairsIncontext.com for more content. And thank you so much for joining me for yet another video. I appreciate you being here. Remember to like, subscribe, and share, and I will see you back here tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.